Hello, everybody. Erin here. Woman Crush Wednesday time. I'm very excited about today's guest. This is my second live I am getting to do today. We have a very, very, very special guest. Cassie Maino is my Woman Crush Wednesday for today. She is the supervising producer for the summer's hottest new hit show, The Ultimate Surfer. I cannot wait to chat with her. This is a very special guest because normally she's on the other side of the camera. She does what I do. She likes to interview. She is not the one normally getting interviewed. So we are going to talk to her all things about her career, what was like shooting The Ultimate Surfer. And there is my girl right there. Hi, girlfriend. How are you, Cassie? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
You know, I'm so honored that we had a chance to talk because I know this is actually something that you don't normally do in front of the camera. You like to stay behind the camera. So what we'll do today is we will talk a little bit about your career, your life, who you are, but then of course everybody wants to talk about The Ultimate Surfer, so we'll break down a little bit about what it was like to be a supervising producer on such a fun show. You got to work with me and Joe and Jesse.
Every day. It was a blast. So much fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was hot. We had to wear masks. It was triple digits. But there were so many great parts of the show, which of course we'll get into. But let's talk a little bit about you because you've been 9 years in the business. You've worked on hit shows like Hell's Kitchen, Food Network star, Top Chef, and of course, most recently, The Ultimate Surfer. And we got to know each other really well last year, July, triple digits. Like I said, we were like basically camping together at the surf ranch.
Basically, that's exactly what we're doing.
It was like summer camp. It felt like summer camp. So tell us, first of all, a little bit about how you got into your line of work, because you are a supervising producer on a lot of your shows. What exactly does that mean? And then how did you kind of get into the business?
I guess the role can kind of, the title can mean different things depending on what the show is. I do a lot of work with the story team. We have a team of producers that are just tracking our cast and what stories are happening during each episode, and the ones that are doing the interviews with the cast. And so I'm helping with that and heavily involved in the arcs of the storylines throughout the season. And then on a show like Surfer and a lot of the others as well, I kind of help the EPs make sure everything else gets done. You know, like once our story team is super strong and they're off and running, it's like, okay, let's just make sure that this show runs as smoothly as possible. And I just do whatever we need to do to make that happen, really.
So you're like a professional fire putter outer sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes.
I mean, we had to, you know, what was really interesting, and we'll talk about the surf show later, but, you know, we were quarantined. We were up on this ranch, essentially, and we weren't able to leave. So we really needed to kind of, like, think 10 steps ahead. Well, really, you did. We just needed to, yeah. So then, how did you break into the business? You know, because when we chatted a little bit yesterday, and as I had gotten to know you last year, you were in the aviation industry. You were not in the production TV world.
No, I was working as a pilot here in LA, and I was giving flight lessons as a way to build my time, my hours in the cockpit, and also earn a little bit of money. And a gentleman came into our office one day looking for to learn how to fly, and he and I hit it off, and we started his training shortly after that and worked together for a while. And I started kind of voicing some of my concerns with the aviation industry and some of my friends. And Mike, this guy at the time, was starting a new show for ABC, and he said, you know what, why don't you just come try this. Come interview with the executive producer. I think you'd be great on the story team. Let's just give it a shot. It's for a summer. We'll see how it goes. And so I did. I showed up with my resume that was all flight stuff, you know, and the executive producer, the showrunner, just flipped it over and started doodling on the back of it because it made no sense to him. Just started asking me some questions, and I jumped right in, and I had a blast, and have been doing it ever since. And now, Mike, the guy that I taught how to fly, that got me that first interview, was one of the executive producers on The Ultimate Surfer. So he and I get to work together quite a bit in a way now. So it's been pretty awesome.
And he
Yeah.
is so much fun. I mean, who doesn't love Mike? Oh,
Yeah.
and that's what's really cool, because this next question I wanted to ask you, why do you love your job so much? Because you ended up leaving the aviation industry and then you stayed here. Why I love my job so much are the relationships of those that I get to meet on these projects and stay, in touch with. Obviously, you and I got to hang out yesterday and catch up, and it was just really nice to kind of connect one-on-one as women both in this industry. So why do you love your job? Why were you like, bye Felicia, bye aviation, it's time to join a new career?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Like the meeting and getting to work with the people that we get to work with is so much fun, and getting to be creative with other creatives and share ideas, and then you come up with these just insane ideas, and you create these mountains to climb for yourselves, and then you do it, and it's just awesome, and you get to celebrate that with really cool people, and then share it with the world, like we're hopefully doing here. And then I also love telling people stories. I love. I think that using sports as a way to tell stories is probably one of my favorite ways to produce. So I think that those are probably my two favorite parts, and included in working with the people we get to work with is now kind of getting to mentor and hopefully teach and help and pass the things that I've learned, and watching some younger producers start to kick butt. Just it makes me so happy to like watch that part of it too. So
I love that. I love that you were so invested as a baddie in wanting to pave the way for other women to do what you do, because I saw you as a leader. We've talked about this. You were very passionate and compassionate as a leader. And I think we need that. We need that in this business. We need someone that will lead fearlessly, but lead a group of people where you care about the souls that are on the ship. And what was really cool was exactly that. It was like after our crazy long days wrapped, and my days weren't even as hard as you guys, at least I got to have a fan held, and we were so hot, you guys. Like it was so hot. It was triple digits, and we were all wearing masks, and people had gear on. You were running around. You're wearing black. I mean, we're all dying here. And the best part of that was once we kind of had a hard day, when it was like when we knew we had a day off the next day, we kind of were like, let's crack open a cold one, and people were playing guitars. Like it was surreal.
Yeah,
it was surreal.
Like we got to go back to being kids during summer camp, but as adults, and in this really rad location. And I think part of what also made it so special, and I was kind of thinking about it last night, was like where we were at as individuals, but also as a world leading into us moving onto the ranch. Like we had spent so much time in isolation, and if we were fortunate enough to be working from home and not with our people, and we took all the proper precautions with the quarantine and the testing, and then we got to move onto the ranch. And yes, we were still wearing masks and we're still being very careful, but we got to like interact with people and be with people, and that was beginning of July when people weren't doing that yet, And I remember my birthday was early July, and Mike, the one that I taught how to fly, is a good friend now, gave me a hug, and it was one of the first hugs I had gotten in a while. And I think that was a big part of just the energy we felt during production and on the ranch in general, was people really needing and wanting that kind of to come together and be creative together and make something fun together, which was really cool.
You just gave me such goosebumps, because you did bring me back just now to that moment. That was so powerful, because you're absolutely right. I remember being so scared, Cass, because I was obviously needing to get into physical shape. I was training, but I didn't want to train at a gym. And then
Right.
ABC was like, you need to stay home, you need to quarantine before you get on set, because I mean, there was no backup plan. If me, Jesse, or Joe went down, or any of the, the surfers, like, what were we gonna do? There wasn't gonna, like, Cassie, we were gonna need to use you as a correspondent, because we just hadn't figured out how to navigate a world dealing with COVID. And we were the first production that went into full production, the big, like a big show
Yeah.
like this that went into production during COVID. So you're right. Like, those moments of being able to hug
Yeah.
were rare.
And just sit around playing guitar and like actually get to hang out and talk that we were all taking for granted before, 2020. So
Yeah.
it put things in perspective, I think, for us. Like, there was just an energy around the ranch for everybody that felt very, very positive. And as hot and as hard as it was, everyone kicked butt. And I think we made a great show, a show that I'm really proud of. And I think people are proud of to have worked on. Yeah.
And the surfers, I mean, I just did a green room post show, like an after show on the Ultimate Surfer. Check it out. Go on the Ultimate Surfer's Instagram page. We're going to do an after show wrap up every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And that truly was so fulfilling for me, because I get to see the surfers that I think America is going to fall in love with. I mean, you take Kayla's story, for example. She's this underdog, has such a heartwarming story because she wants to be able to commit full time, but it is an expensive sport to be able to actually do commit, to be able to commit and dedicate to, because it's expensive. You can't have a full-time job. You have to do surfing full time.
She's so talented. Like, she's right there, to be competing. Like,
Right.
I felt all of that and learning how hard their struggle is. Like, I felt for them, and it was an honor to get to watch them compete in the ways that we did, at like front and center, and see what they do and watch them training. Like, you remember their mornings, like them stretching and they're working out. Like, they were there to train. We were documenting a real surf competition, a 4-week long surf competition is what it was,
Yeah.
and they took it so seriously. And we took it seriously and wanted to do right by them in showing that. And I hope that comes across, and I hope people fall in love with just rooting for these athletes, because they were working their tails off and doing so well under crazy conditions and so much pressure. And I think they had some fun too, but they were some awesome athletes to work with.
They were. I fell in love with all of them. I mean, they each had such a cool story that they brought to the table. Luke Davis, Zeke Lau, of course, Kayla. You have Julie, who's like the young one. Ale, who's the older one looking to break in. I mean, there is a representation of how you can relate to someone within one of the surfers. You'll connect with somebody. And that's my question. That's my next question for you. As a supervising producer who cares obviously about the storylines, right? You're committed to paying homage to surfing, but you also want to really capture the reality element of what goes into these surf competitions. We want to peel back the layer of like really what it's like. As a producer, what do you try to have your audiences feel? Like, what do you feel like is successful for you as a producer when you have your audiences pull something away? Because you do care about the storytelling, which is what I love the most when it comes to sports.
I mean, I think it varies based on the type of show, but for surfer, I think you were up in the booth all the time. But when we were you were up in the booth and we're doing the surf competitions and we were all in the control room, we were watching a live surf event and completely forgot that we were producing a show. Like, we were on the edge of our seats, just like white knuckle grip on whatever's in front of us, just like watching these guys surf, just like going for it. And rooting for every single one of them. We wanted the judges to have the hardest time figuring out the scores. I hope that the audience, I want them to feel the same way that we felt. Like, we got to know these surfers and we've fallen in love with their stories and how hard they've worked to get here and how much this means to them. And I hope that we've told those stories so that the audience feels the same way when they see them on the wave and they see them surfing, that they want to root for them as much as we did, and that they're as excited as we were when they did well and at the outcomes. Because I mean, our trailer went nuts all the time because it was just so exciting to watch, and that's what I hope the audience feels with this one.
I mean, we put these surfers through the gamut. I mean, you've got beach battles, you've got surfing competition, and we were like, how can we take this already challenging, dynamic, difficult set of circumstances and just make it even a little harder? They did.
Why not?
Because why not? And you know what's great? And Cass, I'll let you go. Thank you again, Cassie Maino. She is the supervising producer on America's new hit summer show called The Ultimate Surfer. But what I felt like I took away from this is truly an appreciation for what goes into surfing, how hard it is. And everybody on the staff, everybody on the crew really respected what these surfers brought to the table. And here's what's crazy. The surfing gets even better.
Oh my goodness. And we get to show a lot more of it. We had a lot of business to do the first 2 episodes, but the surfers get better, we get better. It just gets better and better and better. And so I'm super excited for the next 6. Yeah.
We have twists, we have juiciness. It is going to be diabolical, and I cannot wait for people at home to fall in love with The Ultimate Surfer. Cassie, you know I love you. Thanks, girl, for doing this.
Love you too. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye, Cass.